Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Adventure Seeker Sarah Show, coming to you live today from Greensboro, North Carolina, in a random guest bedroom. So today was a weird day. We came to North Carolina primarily to go gem digging at Emerald Hollow Mine and Hidden Night, and to go hang gliding at Nag's Head, both of which we haven't actually done yet. But we were supposed to go gem digging today. I'm going to just sit this somewhere a little bit more sturdy. We were supposed to go gem digging today and woke up and I checked the weather, as one does when you're traveling. You never know what's going to happen. So I checked the weather before we left and realized that we were in the midst of a tornado warning and a hail warning and a thunderstorm warning in the place that we wanted to go. And that's not great. Oh my gosh. And this is what happens when you have like a very humid day in the south with Sarah. So we were supposed to be going gem digging, and that did not work out because we did not want to get tornadoed on. So we decided to stick around Greensboro instead, and that was great. But it's been a weird day, like a weird day. But here we are, and we're going to talk about traveling. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to do while traveling, and the kids too, I think. We're going to talk about amusement parks, because yesterday we went to Carowinds in, well, what we thought was North Carolina, but as it turns out, because I don't do extensive research on a place before I go, and that is on purpose. It's not just because I'm lazy. It's because I like to be surprised too, So unless there's a reason to really research heavily, I just kind of like to go and see what's what. And so we went to Carowinds yesterday in Charlotte and realized once we walked in that this amusement park is actually in 2 states. As you walk in, there you can walk down the state line, and it's in both North Carolina and South Carolina, which is kind of cool. So that inspired me to talk about all of our trips through amusement parks, which have been incredibly plentiful. Like, we do amusement parks a lot. That was even a thing I did as a child in Nova Scotia. Like, one of my favorite things to do in the summer was to go to amusement parks. When our grade 9 trip to Quebec City got canceled, I went in with a whole entire plan to the principal and the vice principal and advocated for a local trip to our local amusement park. And by local, I mean like an hour and a half away. But amusement parks are like kind of my thing. So I'm going to tell you about some of the amusement parks that we've been to that we've really liked, and maybe talk a little bit about how to save some money doing that, especially if you're a family like us who has a lot of people. That can really add up. And maybe tell you a little bit about my wish list, because there are a few things on my wish list as well. So amusement parks. Oh, that's not an amusement park. That's me and Adam. But you know what? He likes amusement parks too. So we're going to start with Canada's Wonderland, because we live in Ontario, and it seems like you probably should mention this. Now, I have been to Canada's Wonderland. Adam has been to Canada's Wonderland. The children have been to Canada's Wonderland, but we've never been there together. But I will tell you about my experience of Canada's Wonderland, which was a while ago, so maybe is not the most up to date, but I really liked this park. Now, it's, from what I understand, quite busy. When I went there, it was a supposed to be rainy day, although it did not rain the whole day. We went there for my birthday many years ago and basically walked onto everything. And this leads me to my first tip about amusement parks. Don't be afraid to go when it's supposed to rain, because guess what happens then? Nobody else shows up. So I really enjoy going to amusement parks on overcast days when the forecast calls for like possible showers, because you still get to do a lot and everybody else stays away. So Canada's Wonderland, we went there in the middle of the summer, in a time where theoretically it should have been very busy. But because there was rain in the forecast, we walked onto every ride and some rides we went on over and over and over. Top Gun was quite new when I went there, which I'm kind of dating my experience with Canada's Wonderland. But Top Gun was very new and should have been very busy. But we went on that maybe at least a dozen times, which, as it turned out, was not a good plan because the type of roller coaster it is, you have the padding on each side of your head, and it's kind of like banging up against a little bit, which makes sense. That's why it's there, so you don't hurt yourself. But I ended up with like a wicked migraine by the end of the day. But guess what? Worth it, because Canada's Wonderland is really cool. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, about Canada's Wonderland for a special reason. But I don't have enough recent experience with Canada's Wonderland to really give you a strong opinion of my own. My kids, though, really love it. I'll tell you that for sure. They go with their dad's side of the family quite regularly. They've had season passes and have very good things to say about Canada's Wonderland. Now, going a little bit further from Canada's Wonderland, but also still in the Toronto area, we have Centerville. Now, Centerville is my top choice if you have children, especially very small children, because this park is in the Toronto Islands. So you take a ferry from downtown Toronto over to the islands and you find Centerville Amusement Park. We've been there at least half a dozen times, maybe more, and plan to go again this spring. It actually opens this weekend. So if you're watching and you're near the Toronto area, this is opening weekend for Centerville. And it's just fabulous. Here are the things I really like about Centerville. It's very concentrated. So there's not a ton of walking, which is great for little legs. All of the rides are tailored to smaller children. So that's actually a challenge in amusement parks a lot of the time. If you have young children, sometimes it's very difficult to find rides that they can go on. So Centerville is great for this. If you have little kids, just go straight to Centerville. And they also have a good variety. So they have like a little petting zoo there. I believe they call it Faraway Farm. It's adorable. They have this pictured here. They have like the gondolas that go across the park so you can see what you're doing. They have a little train that goes around as well. And they have swan boats that you can ride, little pedal boats. But also all of your sort of standard amusement rides. There's a carousel, there's a Ferris wheel, there's bumper cars, there's a tiny little roller coaster. And that roller coaster was the first roller coaster that most of my kids went on. So I have a special place in my heart for Centerville. And this is my top choice, hands down, if you have small children, but like preschool age children, maybe even 7 and below. This is a really, really good choice. Also in Ontario, of course, we're based in Ontario, so I'm starting in Ontario and then branching out, is Fantasy Fair. Now, this is a little bit of a strange one because it's actually in a mall just outside of Toronto, in Scarborough, I believe. And my budget tip for this place is that Fantasy Fair has Groupons all the time. So if you go on Groupon, you'll almost always find coupons for Fantasy Fair. And even though it's in a mall, it's quite large. So they have an incredible range of attractions here. There's nothing huge, like there's no great big roller coasters or anything, but it's good for, your little kids and your medium-sized kids. And heck, I mean, I have fun there too. I actually kind of like kiddie rides. So this is a great option for a rainy day or for in the winter. In Canada, it's hard to go to an amusement park in the winter. So this is a good option for that. And sometimes, like, we've been there when they have other things going on in the mall. So one day when we went to Fantasy Fair, there was also a dog show going on. So they had like trained dogs doing cute little tricks. But Fantasy Fair itself is worth the trip, and especially good if you save some money by going through Groupon. So now we're going to go outside of Ontario, but stick within Canada for a little bit. Upper Clements Park is in Nova Scotia and is basically what I think of when I think of my childhood summers. Now, this is a fairly large park and is in the Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia. Pictured here is the Flume Ride. So this is an awesome Flume ride. I've been on a few others since, and maybe it's maybe it's that this one's better. Maybe it's just because I have that nostalgia for it. But I really love this flume ride. And one summer, my my best friend at the time, my childhood best friend at the time, Tracy, and I went to Upper Clemens Park with my parents, and we made it our goal to go on the flume ride 20 times and the roller coaster 20 times, and did just that, and then hit everything else, 2 or 3 times. So it is a large park for Nova Scotia, but it's not big enough that you're not going to hit everything in a single day. Now, some things about this park, there are a couple of things that change regularly. So I've been there several times, many times as a child, a couple of times as an adult. And the last time we went, there was a haunted house attraction that's just, open for all year, not during Halloween. Their season is amusement park season, spring through to the end of the summer. But their haunted house was actually quite scary. They had a whole entire dark maze, and I think all of us, including the adults, were kind of a little freaked out by it. So if that's your thing, that's a fun thing to do there. They have their flume ride, which is one of the classics. They have things like, the antique cars that you can drive. There's a great little playground by the water for children that's very like pirate themed. And also there's a big wooden roller coaster. Now, I remember loving that roller coaster as a child. But when I went there with my own children, I looked at it with very different eyes because they were quite young when we went there. They were tall enough to go on, but I didn't realize until I had my own children on a wooden roller coaster how rickety wooden roller coasters are. So I had a little bit of fear letting my kids go on that over and over, but they loved it. So I guess the park is doing their job, and that's fantastic. So Upper Clemens Park, if you're in Nova Scotia, definitely worth the trip. And you're in the Annapolis Valley, which is beautiful already. So, stay there for a few days. You can get multi-day passes to Upper Clemens Park, but also you can go do lots of other cool things in the area. But for me, definitely very nostalgic. So also in Canada is Galaxyland in the West Edmonton Mall. So this is another amusement park in a mall, but unlike Fantasy Fair, which is quite small and tailored to mostly younger children, Galaxyland is like a full-on amusement park in a mall. They have a big roller coaster. They have a whole bunch of large rides. I believe this roller coaster, this pictured, was the one that was meant to not be scary. And then my stepmom went on with the kids, and she is not a roller coaster person, and it turned out to be a lot scarier than expected. They also have a fairly large sort of drop zone style ride, which is pretty cool, and lots of other options. I haven't been there for a few years, so most amusement parks are updating constantly. So there are probably even things that I don't know about. But if you're out in that direction, Galaxyland was really cool. And the great thing about it, and I've been there a few times because when I lived in Alberta, anytime anyone would visit, I'd just take them to West Edmonton Mall. So you can actually get a pass for West Edmonton Mall that allows you to do a whole bunch of their attractions, including Galaxyland. There's also a really good water park there, maybe the best we've ever been to. There are a whole bunch of mini golf courses. There's a little marine park. You can go and watch marine animal shows, and there's a tiny little aquarium underneath. Like, West Edmonton Mall is quite something. Like, I'm not going to talk at length about that because I'm talking about amusement parks, but go to West Edmonton Mall. It's really cool. But the amusement park there, Galaxyland, is actually worth the money. It's really, I can't imagine an amusement park in a mall that could be better. Like, it was really good. The other one that I'm going to mention that's in Canada, because I think we're about to dip out of Canada, is Marineland. I didn't put that on the list. I just honestly didn't think of it. And I know there's a lot of controversy with Marineland because they don't necessarily, allegedly, treat their animals very well. I don't have any personal knowledge. I do know that large marine animals, in my opinion, should probably not be kept in small enclosures. But the other thing that I know is the rides there are great, and my kids really love it. We don't focus on the animals, and when we go, we talk a lot about what better options would be, but that's just my opinion. I also, though, still enjoy Marineland, which I know is a bit controversial. The Dragon roller coaster there, I think it's called Dragon Mountain, I can't quite remember, is amazing. I love their kiddie rides. Their little mini kiddie drop zone. They have like an orca screamer, I think it's called. It's a drop ride for little kids, but I like it too. So there are good things about Marineland, even though, you know, it didn't quite make it into the presentation. I still felt I should mention it. And then our last Canadian park, which will lead into our US parks, and you'll see why, is La Ronde in Montreal. Now, La Ronde is actually part of the Six Flags family of parks. And of course, it's awesome all on its own. Lots of great rides, lots of cool like seasonal activities, like their Halloween event is really pretty awesome. But what I really like about La Ronde is it's close to us, which is great. We can drive to an amusement park in 2 hours, but we're on the road a lot anyways. So that's not, you know, a huge factor, but it is a Six Flags park. Now, let me tell you why this is important. Six Flags actually has a reciprocal agreement between their parks. So if you buy a pass to, say, La Ronde or whatever Six Flags park is near you, it actually gives you access to all of the Six Flags parks. Now, I think they have made it so that it's like one of their higher tier passes that allows for this, but there is a trick. Now, those are like pretty expensive, but there is a trick. On Labor Day weekend, Six Flags has a sale. They have a flash sale, and you can, on that weekend, usually get a season pass for roughly the price of going once. And that includes parking, which at La Ronde is significant. It's like $50 to park on that island. So this is your best deal. Go get your season pass on Labor Day weekend, and then you can go to all of the Six Flags parks. Now we're going to talk about more of those because we like our Six Flags parks, but that's your key to saving money here, is to find that flash sale. Now, while we're on Six Flags parks, I'm going to tell you about some of the ones that we've hit. Six Flags Great Escape is in New York, and I believe Lake George. And they're pictured here is both their wooden roller coaster, which has some significance historically, and they have signs up to tell you all about that. And they also have some water slides pictured here, which leads me to the fact that most of the Six Flags parks also have water parks attached, which is kind of cool. And this one in particular also has a hotel water park. Like it's basically a Great Wolf Lodge clone. And we've stayed there once, and it was very interesting too. They had like a little lazy river. They have several water slides. I wouldn't say that it's on par with the Great Wolf Lodges that we've been to, but it's pretty cool. And if you're going to Great Escape anyways, and you need to stay somewhere, well, you may as well stay there. So we did do one trip where we stayed a couple of nights there, and it was totally worth it. So this one is also nice for us because it's not too far of a drive from if you're, you know, in the Ottawa area in Canada. And there are a lot of interesting rides that we haven't seen at other Six Flags park. It once was, I think, Storybook Land or something like that. And Six Flags has a habit of just buying up amusement parks. So there's a neat section that's all little fairy tale houses, and so that's like a remnant from the Storybook Land days. So each of the Six Flags parks has some unique things because often they're kind of taking over an amusement park that was already existing, and this is a great example of that. If you go back through my Facebook, you'll see all kinds of photos from different amusement parks we've been to. So the other one that's kind of near to there, we often do like a Six Flags loop around this time of year, is Six Flags Great Adventure, which is in New Jersey. And by far, like, there are rides that the kids really like here that are specific to this place, but my absolute favorite part of this is the safari. They have a safari that has a plethora of animals. It's quite a long safari ride. I've been to Disney World and have gone to the safari there in Animal Kingdom, and I would say that this one is probably as good, maybe even better, depending on your guide, because we've had some really great guides that were incredibly knowledgeable about the animals. And I really enjoy this safari ride at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. Like, it's phenomenal. So if you're going there, this is definitely my suggestion. Do not miss the safari. Lots of great rides, just like every Six Flags park will have. It wouldn't exist if it didn't have great rides, but this is my favorite part of Six Flags Great Adventure. And when we go to this place, I will mention that we usually stay at Butterfly Campground. They have camping spots, trailer hookups, and also cabins. And it's pretty close to Six Flags Great Adventure, and it's a really cool little place. So if you are looking to have, some family fun in your accommodations as well, then Butterfly Campground is close to Six Flags Great Adventure. And another Six Flags New England. I put up the Joker, this roller coaster, because at least one of my kids is obsessed with this ride. But I kind of really enjoyed that they had so many roller coasters here. Like, I know they do at all the Six Flags parks, but I feel like when we talk about roller coasters as a family, this is the park that people keep coming back to. This ride and the Superman ride here are definitely family favorites. I might look at this with different eyes now because we also have Lyndon, who's very small, and I can't remember what rides they have there that would be appropriate for him. But they also had a really great water ride here. They had like a raft ride, and that was awesome. And so now we've talked about our Six Flags parks and how they have a reciprocal agreement. But I learned something new yesterday when we went to Carowinds. Now, Carowinds is in, like I mentioned, both North and South Carolina, depending on which part of the park you're in, which I think is kind of cool in and of itself. I will mention that I don't think I've ever been in a place where I've heard so much banjo. So they have music playing, of course, throughout the park. And we're in the South, so there's a lot of banjo. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just feel like, fair warning, you better like banjos. But it was a great park. Absolutely amazing. But I think what I like most about this park is that it showed me something new, which is they have a similar reciprocal agreement to the Six Flags parks. I don't know if any of you have heard of Cedar Point, which I believe is in Ohio. Of course, everything's in Ohio. I have an Ohio story for another day. But Cedar Point is owned by a company that owns a whole bunch of amusement parks, including Carowinds and Canada's Wonderland. So if you get a platinum pass, which is like their highest tier of season pass, then like the Six Flags reciprocal agreement, you have access to all of those parks. Now, this isn't something they heavily advertise, and I mean, I guess I can see why. It's probably twofold. A, they want to make money at every park, which is reasonable from a business standpoint. But also, I don't think there are a lot of people who are just, amusement park hopping from state to state. That's kind of, a thing that we do, but I can understand that it's probably not super common, which is maybe why they don't advertise it. But I know I talk about reciprocal agreements a lot. If you're going to any museum, any art gallery, any water park, any aquarium, any amusement park, check to see if they have any kind of reciprocal agreement, especially if you travel a lot, because you might end up, for the price of, going to two places, you might end up being able to get yourself a pass that will get you into a whole lot more. So reciprocal agreements, probably my favorite travel tip ever. Now, the thing about the amusement parks like Six Flags and Carowinds and associated parks is the food is quite expensive. So when I come back to like my budget tips, I'll talk about some options for that a little bit. They do have meal plans available, which is kind of an interesting option. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, especially if you're going to be there a lot. In fact, I read an article about an elderly lady that had a Six Flags pass because she lived very close to a Six Flags park and just used her meal pass to eat most of her meals there, which she basically didn't have to buy groceries. She just ate all of her meals at Six Flags, which is kind of clever if you think about it. And now we're going to get out of the Six Flags zone to probably two of my favorite amusement parks ever. Luna Park is on Coney Island in New York City. Is it technically a part of New York City? I think so. I don't know for sure. It must be, because this is my budget tip. It's part of the New York pass. So if you can get city passes most places that you go, if they have a whole bunch of attractions, they'll have some sort of pass that allows you to go to all of those attractions, or like a smattering of them. Toronto has a similar one where you can go to the CN Tower and the Ontario Science Centre and a few other places. So in New York City, when we went there the first time, we got our New York pass, which allows us like hop on, hop off access to the buses and a whole bunch of attractions. And Luna Park was one of them. This is such a great little park. Coney Island is really cool alone. Like, just the whole place is awesome. But this was a really neat little amusement park. There are small rides, there are large rides. This has actually my favorite ride in existence, which is, a kiddie ride that was music themed, and it's just arms that go up and down. It's nothing exciting, but just like the feeling it gave me was my favorite feeling on any amusement park ride. So Luna Park is very high up on my list and highly recommended, and also included in your New York City pass. If you're going to New York City, make sure to look up getting passes for each individual city you go to anywhere, because it's going to save you a lot of money if you plan to do a lot of touristy things. I wish I could show you photos, like lots of our family photos of all of these places, but I wanted to tell you about all of them within our like half-hour-ish time frame. We're already creeping up to a half hour. I didn't realize I had so much to say about amusement parks, but I guess I'm not surprised because we do a lot of this. But this one is my absolute favorite. So Diggerland is in New Jersey, and we went there for my birthday several years ago. Not really on purpose for my birthday, just we were traveling during that time and happened to be at this place on my birthday. But seriously, best birthday present ever. I love like weirdly themed amusement parks or attractions, and this place is entirely construction themed. We bought the tickets originally because Dahlia at the time, who is the youngest girl in our family, was obsessed with construction equipment. And so for Christmas for her, another budget tip, Diggerland has a flash sale on tickets every December, early December. So watch for that, sign up for their mailing list. But they had their flash sale. We bought tickets for Dahlia for her birthday. For Christmas, but ended up going for my birthday. And this entire place is all either construction vehicles that you can operate, like they have little mini diggers and stuff, or construction equipment that has been modified by like welding seats to it to be amusement rides. It's so weird, so weird, but so awesome, like weird and wonderful. This is the best, especially if you have little kids who are really into construction equipment. That's a pretty common kid obsession. Take them here and you will be the best parent ever. But you know what? Even if you don't have kids, go to Diggerland. And if you don't have kids, then you can also go to Diggerland XL. So it is an adjoining park that's basically for adults. You get to drive like the big construction equipment. Now, I haven't been there, so I can't really speak to it from a personal perspective, but it looks awesome. So that's on my wish list, and we're going to go into my wish list in a sec. But Diggerland XL is definitely on my wish list, and we're going to go back to Diggerland. Like, that is happening for sure, because now our 2-year-old is also kind of obsessed with with construction equipment and other vehicles, and he would just lose his mind. So that's on our list. We were going to go this summer. He's a little small for most of the rides, so won't really get our money's worth this time, but we'll go back eventually. And now, from what I understand, they've added a water park as well, which is pretty cool. So it just keeps getting better. It was already my favorite, and now there's more. So that is my list of amusement parks that we've been to that are on my favorites list. Like I mentioned, I do have a bit of a wish list. So Diggerland XL looks cool. That's a place that I would definitely just go with Adam or my adult friends and, have a day of fun. There is an amusement park in the Netherlands. And now I'm forgetting the name. I think it's called Efteling. I wish I had brought up the commercial for it and showed you that, because it just makes it look wondrous. It's fairy tale themed, but like a little bit dark and creepy, and it's right up my alley. So that's very high up on our list. We're supposed to be maybe going to Europe this summer. With everything that's going on there, we're kind of on the fence, but if we do, that is the one thing that I personally need to make it to. Everyone else is, I'm sure, excited about it too, but I'm probably more excited than anyone ever could be to go to that place. And then another recent pop-up for me, which is going to sound a little strange if you don't know anything about it, but Dollywood, like Dolly Parton's theme park, actually looks really cool. It's award-winning. It's got all kinds of cool things, great rides. There are accommodations on site. There are a whole bunch of award-winning shows. It actually looks like a really cool park. So that's now made it onto my list as well. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention too, since we have, we homeschool, and all of these amusement parks that I've mentioned so far, or at least the Six Flags parks and the Carowinds associated parks, have education days. So they have days when the schools will come, and we actually requested, because we couldn't go on education day, we requested a packet for the kids to do while we were in the amusement parks. And it's all just like math and physics activities based on the rides that are there, which I'm going to warn you, if you are a homeschooler or not, and you take your kids and make them do math and physics in line while at an amusement park, you're going to get some dirty looks probably, because we certainly did. But it was a really cool way to do school, right? And then when we were at Carowinds yesterday, it was mentioned to us that they have special homeschool days where they have all kinds of interactive educational activities, and you can register to come for the day as a homeschooler and do that. So that's something worth remembering if you're going to amusement parks and also are very, educational minded. The other thing that's worth noting is that all of the large amusement parks also have holiday activities. So I know I mentioned the I don't remember what they call it, but La Ronde has their whole Halloween thing. Of course, Canada's Wonderland does too. They're like well known for their, I'm going to call it Fright Fest. I don't remember what they call it, but they're basically their haunt attraction that happens after dark. We've gone to the one in La Ronde a few times, and it's a stunning transformation. It goes from, daytime and you got all these little kids happy going on rides, to then like the lights go down and the demons come out. It's pretty awesome. So they have roving character actors, and then also have special haunt attractions. So we went through one that was entirely clown themed at one year, and that was pretty cool. But they have all kind, like a whole bunch of them. There's a zombie zone outside in La Ronde. I don't know if they do it every year, but all the years we've been there, they have. And I think my children's favorite part, now that they're in horror movies, we run our own haunt sometimes, like we really go all out for Halloween. Their favorite part of going to the amusement park haunt attractions is just watching teenagers run and scream in terror and cackling at them. So that's fun to watch for me too. Not the teenagers running and screaming, but my children delighting in it, which is kind of amusing. But they also, a lot of the parks have, not in Canada because Canada, but a lot of these parks also have Christmas events. and you can go and like see the whole place lit up. So watching for extra things that are outside of the season that you would normally be expecting is, a great thing to do with amusement parks. You watch for extra things that you're already paying for, especially if you have those season passes that I mentioned, and if you're getting the higher tier of pass that includes more things. They often include those holiday events as well. So I'm sure I could say lots and lots and lots more things about amusement parks because, hey, we really like amusement parks. And I could probably do this again in another year or two and tell you all new amusement parks because everywhere we go, we will try to find new ones. So before I go today, let me remind you to go follow a bunch of things. So Class A Paranormal, the paranormal team, the paranormal investigation team I'm on. We have our own podcast here on Connect TV as well, the last Saturday of every month. So watch for that. Go to Facebook and Instagram and follow Class A. Of course, if you are not already following A Canada Travel, you should go do that and sign up for an account on A Canada Travel. You can be part of the Travel Talk community. You can see what all of the adventure seekers are doing. You could even become an adventure seeker yourself. I think they're searching for new adventure seekers. So go take a look at that. If you are interested in what's going on in Nova Scotia, you can find me posting there from time to time and definitely find all the most up-to-date news in Nova Scotia. And I, of course, as Adventure Seeker Sarah, am all over the place on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. So I try to post slightly different things in each place. So following them all is worth it. If you like beer, or if you just like seeing people really excited about beer, you can follow thatbeerthing.ca. And of course, go give Connect TV a like. And until next time, happy adventuring.